What's happening, people? Welcome in. Welcome in. We appreciate you for joining us here today. Got a great stream planned. We'll see if it goes well. I mean, we can't guarantee that it's gonna go well, but the stream that we've planned looks good, Badaki. So
yeah, you gotta hope that it goes well. I mean, it can just go to shit. Maybe it'll end it right now and just say no, it's not good enough.
You know what? Maybe we haven't done enough, but we do appreciate you guys for being here with us. Let us know who is in the chat. I went to bed last night just thrilled, and can I tell you why?
Why?
Because for the first time since Washington made the worst mistake by basically in the Dan Snyder era, adopting the worst uniforms we've ever seen an NFL team wear, the Washington Commanders showed me signs of hope for the future. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I am referring to the fact that they are coming out with new alternates, is what they're calling it. We're only going to wear these 3 games this year, but this tells me this is a test drive. That's what this tells me. It tells me this is a test drive for what Washington could potentially, their jerseys could look like in the future. Every Washington fan misses the gold face mask. All right, we all miss that. We all miss the solid, numbering as well. What Washington has right now is just disgusting. I desperately want to buy this Jaden Daniels jersey. Actually, first thing I did is I went on Google and I said, when can I buy these jerseys? And unfortunately, the first time that you can actually buy them is in September. But I will be waiting. But man, these are so clean, and I'm excited that we have a actual respectable uniform that somewhat resembles what I remember growing up. So I was pretty excited about that. But appreciate y'all for being here with us. We are going to be doing a startup draft. Would love for you guys to join us. Do us a favor, hit that like button to show some love. Got a like goal today of 50 likes. With your help, I think we can get there. But Aki, how can people join us in this startup draft?
Yeah, guys, join our Discord. I'll put that link in the chat, or at least hopefully the Nightbot will, or that link is in the description. Go to the Fantasyland tab or the Land tab with the orange footballs, and then go to mock draft. That's where we're posting each and every mock draft, whether you're watching now or later. It is first come, first serve. And let me join this mock here, and then I'll send that link out for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
And that link is going to be sent out here very soon after Badaki gets a spot here. What's up, Scribbles? Okay, awesome. Welcome in. Appreciate you for being here. What's up, Jonathan? Welcome in. He says notification gang. What's up, Jeb? Appreciate you to being here. Tiny Goose says the W on the helmet sucks though. Wish they'd change that back. Yeah, obviously we all miss the logo, but this is, I think, best case scenario for any Washington
unlucky
fans.
In it. It's just unlucky.
I don't see them going back to the old branding. What's up, Joe Dav? Welcome in, my friend. Welcome in.
What's happening, brother? How you feeling?
But yeah, definitely excited. We also have some team playbooks that we're going to do today. Strategy and Risky already done. I think, Badaki, you're going to get those out today.
Yeah, those are going to be sent out today.
Yeah,
and then we're
going to do Jeb's live. T-Mac is an offline one. And then Kleinet is going to be done today as well. And then Naub's, you can upgrade yours to a live if you want, but that's completely up to you. But yeah, definitely a fun stream planned. We've got 2 spots remaining, so I'm just going to paste the link in the YouTube chat. Would love for you guys to be here with us. What's up? CC Viking says, hey there, I bought a mother flocker today with promo land. Can I donate an additional $10 on the Flock Fantasy to get a live review? Yes, absolutely. We've got space for you tonight, my friend.
Yeah, what's your... So did you already purchase? So that means you're on the list. What's your fantasy username?
I think he might have purchased an annual membership, but he just hasn't submitted his play.
He hasn't submitted his team yet? Okay, yeah,
so
that's fair.
Yes, Dynasty Superflex Startup Draft. Let me change the settings. I'm sorry, guys. Now that we're switching between channels, sometimes I accidentally forget to change the settings, so that's a good call. Let's see. We'll do a third round reversal. And then we will make this super flex as well. All right. That should be right if you refresh your draft board. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and get this thing started here. There'll be a 0.5 tight end premium, something simple like that. But I appreciate you for being here. What's up, WG? Welcome in. He says, I did not buy yet. Just wanted to wait for you guys to go live. Yes, sir. We can definitely get that in tonight, my friend. Appreciate you being here. As Jamar Chase goes number 1 overall, you know, we were live 2 days ago and someone took Saquon Barkley number 1 overall. This is super flex. But this one seems more reasonable because we have seen Chase go at the 101 many times in a super flex startup. Probably not the way you and I would build a team, but doesn't mean that it's the wrong way to do it.
Yeah. Unlucky. Hopefully he doesn't think it's redraft. I think a lot of people have been going back and forth. Since we've been going back and forth, a lot of people have been a little bit confused whether it's redraft or Dynasty. But we are doing a Dynasty startup mock draft there. But there goes your typical Daniels, Allen, Lamar. Was hoping to get someone like a Jamar Chase there, but that's totally okay. I guess I'll pivot and go big Joey Burr at the 105 there.
Love it. So Chase is starting our draft along with 4 quarterbacks, including his own. Vikings has been following you guys since the start of the year and truly love your Dynasty takes. That's awesome, man. I appreciate you for being here, man.
Love.
Very, very kind of you. Would love to have a look at that squad today. Okay, so I have a random question as we see Neighbors, Jefferson, Bowers, and Hurts come off the board. Wow, Hurts that late is kind of free money. Especially with the 3rd round reversal, the man could build a monster there. All right, so the question is, I know this is going to sound like a stupid question. What is the thing that you walk on at the gym? You know, like you can walk and run treadmill? On it? A treadmill. You know how it's like Amazon Day or whatever?
Yeah.
I want to get like a treadmill to put under my desk because you and I are at our desk so often.
Yeah. And
I think I might, benefit from walking more often. And it's Amazon Prime Day, so just having a look at what my options might be.
Having a look at your options.
Yep.
Or you can save some money and just walk.
There's a Prime. Well, I already walk. I want to walk on top of my walking. Of course, I already walk, but I want to walk on top of my walking. What are you looking at me for? My wife's looking at me weird now.
No, I'm just like, oh, this is the first time I'm hearing about this.
Well, yeah.
She wants the goss.
I come up with new ideas every day.
Yeah, wow.
Tell Karina I'm excited for it. At Texas.
Yes. Badaki said he's excited for Texas.
Oh, yeah,
to hang out with you.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Hurts falling that far is crazy. Yeah, so I think I might get some sort of like under the desk. Almost said Walkman. Yeah, treadmill. Under the desk treadmill. So this is what I'm trying to work with, guys. Like something like while I'm working, because I'm always at a desk. Want to get a little more active, and I don't know why Badaki thinks I don't go on walks as well. I do go on walks.
I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying you can just go on walks if you wanted to walk on top.
Well, I can't walk and work at the same time. That's the problem. So I want to walk more than just the allocated time I have for walking.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
That's fine.
Anyway, exercise bike. Maybe I could actually like during stream start walking. You know, we can do a segment. Maybe I'll start running. Anyway, some of the worst ideas on this stream so far. But anyway,
he's gonna start running. He says on stream.
I appreciate y'all for being here with us.
There's actually people that do that though.
Yeah, do us a favor, hit that like button to show some love. Got a like goal today of 50 likes. With your help, I think we can get there. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
No, I'm saying I've seen that on TikTok where people like, they will like watch a movie at home, but they will walk the length of the movie.
Yeah.
But like obviously they'll have the whole setup, so they'll get like snacks and drinks, and they'll put it, and then they'll just walk and watch the movie.
Yeah, my mom is very health centric as a person. I would say she's a very like holistic health type of person, and she has told me that based off her research, which take it for what you want, that she thinks that sitting in the desk, like, because a lot of people have desk jobs, right? Like they're sitting at a desk, like you and I. She says that it's the next cancer or to your body, basically, like how devastating it can be. It's like the next, smoking a bunch of cigarettes and what it can do to your
It's the
body.
next smoke. That's what they used to say when video games came out, and all the kids was gonna have arthritis and shit for their thumbs, and their thumbs are gonna be amputated because all they did was play video games.
I killed a man with this thumb.
That's literally what it was. I remember it's like, oh yeah, your finger's gonna fall off, or you're gonna have like really bad joints when you get older.
Yeah. I'm gonna
what do I know?
I'm gonna pair rather Daniels and Drake May here to start my draft at the 2 spot. Anyway, sorry, a lot of random things being talked about today, but we truly do appreciate you guys for being here. I can give you an update that we did just get Nalbs upgrade his playbook, so his is going to be live tonight. And then I did just see Viking purchase a membership, so we'll probably see his tonight. So again, if you guys are looking to get a team playbook now on tonight's stream, I would say now is probably the time to go ahead and get that in. Let us know if you have any questions as Saquon Barkley come off the board and Justin Sherbert. All right, let's catch up with the chat. What's up, Mike? Welcome in. What's up, Relentless? Welcome in.
What's happening, brother?
CB says Hurts value plummeting when next year the tush push gets banned. Just draft him now, though. Win your league, and then you can sell him after you win your league. Okay. Jeb says, Zach Badaki, what are you guys' thoughts on a guy putting Daniels, Caleb, Jaden Higgins on their taxi squad out of a startup this year? Guy came out of the draft with 426 firsts. Yeah, I think it's a good question. So, from my understanding, your league either doesn't use max points for to decide who gets like the number 1 overall pick, or your league doesn't include the taxi in the max points for. Either way, I have no problem with people finding loopholes that are within the rules. That to me, I would say is smart roster management, in my opinion. And not everybody's going to agree with that, but I think that's smart roster management. Like if you know you have no chance to compete this year, and you know that in the rules that you have read in the league that you have joined, he says we do use max points for, but I don't know that if the taxi is used for that, honestly. So yeah, that might be something that he may have read in your rule book if you guys have a rule book together and he wanted to exploit it. And I personally have no problem with it. I don't know if Badaki has an issue with it. I more have a problem when people like purposely don't set their lineups. That is the problem for me. So
I think it is loophole. I think it's a bit unfair because so you're telling me you're gonna draft Jaden Daniels in the first and then put him in the taxi and just say, oh, but I want him in the taxi this year. I feel like that's a little bit I get where you're coming from, Jeb. I just think I get it if it's not someone you expected to break out, but
yeah. I mean,
if you're telling me you drafted a Matthew Golden and you put him on your taxi and then he breaks out, it's okay, that makes sense. You're drafting a guy who already finished as a top 5 quarterback and you're putting him on your taxi because of the loophole. I think it's a little bit you have to put your best players forward, and there's literally no one else better at the quarterback position for some people. Some people have Jaden Daniels as number 1.
This is more on the commissioner than it is on that person then. If there's not clearly defined rules, in every league that I manage, in Dynasty, I have a very clearly defined rules document, and that has been something that we've kind of crafted over years because people have tried to manipulate it. So we've kind of, it's gone through the ringer, if you will. And in the first year, you and I had a lot of issues with tanking. Sorry, I guess I'm going to take T. Higgins. I was more focused on this conversation. That's my bad.
No, that's good. I just think it's
well, hold on.
Continue.
In the first year, we had a lot of issues with tanking. It was a serious problem, and we kind of crafted, over time, the right document, and it's very specific about the integrity of the league, about the integrity of your starting lineup, about how picks are rewarded and how tanking isn't acceptable, and how if you tank, there really is no benefit outside the max points for, which is the loophole this guy is kind of figuring out. But Yeah, so I would say this is more on your commissioner if there's not a clearly defined rule book for your league. And he says his projected points for week 1 is 11. That to me says he is probably stretching the rules then. Like, but again, does your commissioner have very clearly defined written out rules for your league, or is it just kind of a free for all? He says, I'm new to taxi squads. If I added players to it already, can I take them off? This is all going to be depending on the settings of your league, but typically the offseason is completely free game for moving the taxi squad on and off, for our leagues at least. In season is different. It's locked in season, but off season's free game. What do you think, Badaki, about this? You had stuff to add. Okay, you're muted.
Yeah, I am muted. Sorry. In my perspective, in this specific scenario that Jeb is bringing up, I think it's pretty clear. I don't think you're gonna. I feel like if you're taking anyone in the first 4 rounds and you put them on your taxi, and they're not rookies in a dynasty startup, because he's just coming off a startup and he put these guys on their taxi, I feel like that's pretty clear what it is. But like, I get what you were saying. Like, it has to be the rules. Like, it has to be clear in the rules. But like, I think no one would be surprised if someone puts Travis Hunter in the taxi, because we don't know what his outlook is going to be.
Yeah.
Right. That's completely fair. But someone that is already proven, that has already broken out in a rookie perspective, and he's on your taxi, I feel like.
Well, that's again why I say if anyone wants to commission a league, you need to have very clearly defined rules. And Jeb says the rules are pretty clearly written, but it's not specific anti-tank rule outside of the max points for. It doesn't specify whether taxi goes towards max points for. So I think, and unless your commissioner, again, has established this now, you probably need to wait until next offseason, but you should probably establish a rule about on that. But anyway. Viking says, just paid for a live. Appreciate you, man. We got that awesome. And we're going to have a look at your team tonight.
Yeah, we'll have a look at your team.
But this is kind of my opinion as well, like Tiny Goose. Like, if he's basically burning his buy-in. Like, are you not okay with him burning his buy-in, though? Because that's one less person to go out and win a championship against, And it sounds like he has a decent squad as well. Anyway.
Yeah.
We'll see. Okay, trying to keep up with the chat. You guys are awesome. Appreciate you for being here. Be a friend. Hit that like button to show some love. Scribble says no one starts with 4 quarterbacks. And then Mike says, well, Troy does. Troy starts with 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah, he took 4 quarterbacks. I'm not necessarily sure what Troy is doing. Maybe he is trolling the league, or he just thinks everyone is of value there.
Well,
but
yeah, people do this a lot in startups, in real startups as well. People used to do it a lot. It depends on your league. I think like a newer league, it would probably work on where, people are like, oh, wow, I need a quarterback and this guy has all of them. Let me trade ransom for the quarterbacks. But I think in any league you and I are in, people would just look at it and they'd be like, all right, bro, you're gonna have to lay in this bed that you're, building. So,
yeah.
Yes, people really do this. I mean, Badaki and I, we've been in drafts before with home leagues where like someone took 3 tight ends and we were like, okay. And they were like, don't worry, I have a plan.
And it wasn't even a tight end premium, man.
It wasn't a tight end premium. He's like, I have a plan. And we were like, what are you doing? He's like, I have a plan. And then you start getting trade offers for his tight ends. And everyone's like, I don't want your tight ends, bro. Like, you're going to have to give me a discount to take that tight end off your hand. So yeah. I think it comes down to a lot of different things, but typically it doesn't work in any league that is a veteran league. Is that the right way to say it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Although it has made the quarterbacks look disgusting in this startup. So if you were going late quarterback in this startup, it don't look good right now.
You might see another quarterback of value. Let's see if he does it. See if Troy does it here.
Hey, Geno Smith's available.
And this was like, by the way, that tight end thing was probably like 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
When tight ends were.
Oh my God. All right. Well, Troy, I'm gonna give you one more round. If you take another quarterback, I'm going to kick you. And I'm going to make the rest of your picks. Not a big fan of Xavier Worthy, but I think he's the most valuable asset on the board. So in this scenario, I would probably be looking to trade him, flip him to someone who does believe in him. I think he is trolling at this point. Yes, I think he is. So we're going to have to, we'll give him one more chance, but. Okay, this is what I thought. I thought this was the case, but I thought this was the case, but I wasn't 100% sure. He says default and sleeper is that taxi players' points go to max points 4, I'm pretty sure. So unless your commissioner has changed any settings manually, my thought was originally that, hey, that's probably just going to go to max points 4 anyway. I'll take Caleb Johnson here. Anyway, I think that is the standard. So even if he's putting those guys in his taxi, unless your commissioner has changed any rules, that's probably still going to go to his max points 4 anyway. So the annoying part is that, you know, people are going to get free wins against him. That is something that we specifically have like rules against in our league. Like you can't just give someone a free win. You have to field your best possible team. All right, Troy, this is your last chance. He says Dak over Worthy and Kyron.
Just take a quarterback so he can get you out in hot jokes.
If you take a quarterback, all right, there you go, Zay Flowers. I will say, like, I am definitely against leagues where they have like a cap, like you can only draft 4 quarterbacks or like 3 quarterbacks or whatever. I'm definitely against those type of leagues just because I think let people try different strategies. But again, like if this was a real league, I think Troy, and you and I were in it, I think Troy would be in trouble. Just no one's gonna be crawling to him to try and get these quarterbacks, and then he's gonna be fielding, you know.
Yeah, and I think like I just don't think anyone
Austin Eckler
does that like that
scenario, you know?
and it really anymore. Like I think people have done it in the past, and it probably really hurt them. Because what's going to happen is like no one's going to want to trade with someone like Troy just because like, well, you just shouldn't have done that. You know, if this was
you
a
have
real
to
league.
pay a tax because it annoyed people. and
yeah.
And by the way, I hope Troy is watching this and not feeling like a personal attack because that's not what it's supposed to be. And I hope it's not coming off that way.
Because I feel like people would do that, right? Like people would not trade with somebody like that just because he has all these quarterbacks, because what's he going to do? Or there's not even like what Troy's going to do. What somebody that does this is going to do is like try and sell Lamar Jackson for 3 players. And he's just like, actually, let me just get your cheapest quarterback in Dak Prescott for 1 player. But they're not going to want that either.
Yeah.
So I was like, well,
out of
unlucky.
pure, like for me at least, just to be stubborn, I would just wait until you're like desperate to get these quarterbacks off your. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I would not entertain offers until you send me something where I'm like, yeah, I'm clearly winning. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But each to their own.
But he could definitely move Lamar Jackson pretty easily. If he wanted to do that, but then he would still have an excess at quarterbacks. I don't know. He's doing what he thinks is best. All right, so Loveland comes off the board at the 6.6. I thought Tyler Warren was a huge value considering we said this is 0.5 tight end premium. So for Tyler Warren to go at the 6.12, Harvey at the 7.1. Honestly, wow. I mean, Team 12 is killing it right now. What a start.
What a start from the boy here.
I personally anticipated, Mike, that RJ Harvey would go right after I took Caleb Johnson. So I too was shocked that he fell that far. Just if that gives, you know, if that makes you feel any better. My
Makes
God.
you feel some type of way.
Imagine being in the startup and the best available quarterback is Tua Tagovailoa in the 7th round.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Not what you want to see, really.
As Matthew Golden comes off the board. Troy says, I think it makes the quarterback pool ugly in the league undervaluing quarterback right now, in my opinion. And in 2 months, D1RW will trade Rasheed for Love.
Like I get what you, but like
I just don't
even
think
then,
he would. But yeah, he could. Again, like so I definitely was curious to hear Troy, and again, like there's nothing like, but Aki and I can't predict the future. You could be 100% right, and we could be 100% wrong. But I don't imagine that is actually going to work out for you, because that's kind of exactly what we discussed that doesn't work in leagues anymore. At least leagues with people who are experienced in Dynasty now. Like, people don't actually do that anymore in our leagues specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take Terry in the 7th round to stack with Jaden.
I just think like you just, like people said, like, yeah, you burn your buy-in, but like what you're hoping that for you to compete in 2 years? I don't know.
Yeah, it is strange because this roster is not a rebuilder. Clearly, it's not a contend because of that roster. I don't think it gives it a clear defined path, but
to me, I'm not looking for the one. But hey, each of their own, man. We're gonna get comments, man. I wish I was in this league.
Oh yeah. Hey, but Aki and I used to run leagues, and you guys could have had a chance to get in there. But that was when the OGs were here. The people we had 300 subscribers. That's when those OGs came in and subscribed and
OGs, triple OGs, huh?
He says he wanted Pickens, not Chuba. That's all right. It's okay. What's up, David? Davide, welcome in, my friend. When
Italy is here.
When I hear Davide, I always think of Love Island.
I love that he says. Oh, really? Are you watching the...
I don't watch Love Island anymore. I watched like 1 or 2 seasons with my wife, and then I just said, you know what, babe? I think I'm going to sit this series out. Just because like, I'm all for like The Bachelor, Bachelorette. We've talked about this before, but the issue is that you have to commit so much time to Love Island. It is 52 episodes that are like an hour long. If you just do the math on that, like how much of your life you're wasting, that is 3,120 hours.
Not if you do it smart like me. Like, I don't watch Love Island when it comes out. I wait. I literally have binge watched Love Island the past 2 weeks while I've been working. When I'm making graphics or when I have to do something or editing or whatever, I have Love Island back. Now, am I completely focused on it?
Sorry, my math
was
so bad there. I apologize. That's 52 hours. I'm an idiot. I apologize. Go ahead.
Am I actually fully focused in it? And am I like locked into it as if I'm watching a movie? Absolutely not. I'm just listening. And then when something important comes up, I'm like, wait, what? And I'll look to the next screen. That's how I do it.
Okay, so if you watched 10 Love Island seasons, all right, just hypothetically, you will have wasted 3 weeks of your life. More than 3 weeks of your life. Just for, anyone who's curious out there.
More than you really valid. I'm not saying you.
I'm talking to you specifically. My wife is looking at me. She's upset. I'm talking to you. How many seasons have you watched?
You wasted three weeks of your life, Karina.
How many seasons have you watched?
Like in my lifetime?
Yeah.
I think like 4.
She's watched 4 seasons. Okay. Well, we should stop now because I'm just kidding. But you have wasted. Let's see. Not that you've wasted. I shouldn't say you've wasted because it's your decision.
No, you wasted. You wasted. You wasted. He means that one.
You have wasted almost 9 days.
Well,
9 full days. No sleeping.
could say that about video games.
That's true. She said you could say that about video games.
All
right. Well, there's no reason to stop watching Love Island if you love
Love Island is my video game.
it. She said it's her video game. Speaking of video games, anybody playing the new college football game? I can't stop. I have a problem.
It's gonna be dead in a couple weeks. Maybe in a month or two, it's gonna be dead, just like every Madden game there is.
Yeah, I don't think anyone who's played college football could disagree with you more. It's nothing like Madden.
That's okay.
Not even close. And that just tells me that you don't know anything about college football as a game. So thanks for letting us know.
I just think it's all the same. It's all the same. You get excited. You're going to rebuild the team. You're going to take him to the college football playoffs, and then you're going to do it again. And then you're like, oh, well, this is boring now. And then you don't end up never playing it.
This is the same guy, by the way, who decided that he was going to quit playing video games with his friends when the new Switch Mario Kart came out. He said, I'm actually going to stop playing video games. And I'm still doing it. No, you're playing video games with your friends. You lied to yourself.
And I'm still doing it.
You lied to yourself.
I said specifically Call of Duty because Call of Duty was dead.
No,
I don't want to play that game no more.
You said, I'm going to be on Rainbow Road. You can catch me on Rainbow Road. Nobody joined you, bro.
I'm playing Zelda, so that's different. But see you on Rainbow Road. I'll whoop your ass.
Yeah, I might buy it in like 3 years when it's cheaper. Comes out later, and I can play it with my
by then, the new Switch is going to be on. Then you're probably and then you're not going to buy it because then you have to wait for the next one.
I don't need the latest Switch. Anyway, yeah, college football over Madden by 1,000%. Yeah, truthfully, not even close to the same game. It's not it's ironically.
I'll see if you. We should timestamp this in a month and a half from now to see if he's still playing it.
How much life do you think a game gets typically, anyway? But I mean,
I'm talking about. I think not college football. I think sports games that could be soccer, football, basketball. That lifespan is probably dead unless the lifespan of that. I would probably say a good stretch of it is probably about 3 to 4 months, and that's somebody that is really into it. Now,
is that not every single game? Like, how long? You didn't want to play Call of Duty after like 3 months. What's the problem?
No, because Call of Duty's been out longer than that, and the only game we played
after 3 months of Call of Duty being out, you did not want to play it. That's what I'm telling you. So what's the difference?
I didn't want to play ranked. I'm happy to play Call of Duty. I think everyone wanted to play ranked. I was like, oh, I don't want to play ranked because it was just the same nonsense.
Well, I don't even know what I'm fighting for at this point. I don't actually care anymore. So whatever you're saying is right then. I don't actually remember what we're fighting about, and I don't care. I'll take Travis Etienne here in the 10th round.
Ooh, one of the two.
Okay, let's catch up with the chat here. Mike says, not sure what Love Island is, but it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Season 17 starts tonight. Yeah, can I ask, like, because I love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I mean, my wife and I kind of fall asleep to like comedy shows. A lot of comedy shows fall off, you know, like Community when Troy leaves, or Childish Gambino when he leaves. Obviously, it's not the same show. The Office, when Michael Scott leaves, it's not the same show. I think Parks and Rec was really the one that kind of held it all together until the end. Love Workaholics, but there's no development in the show either. It's kind of just like the same, but you always get a laugh out of Workaholics. It's a classic. Is Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the further it goes, you know, does it still have the same feeling, or is it worse? You know, I'm just curious.
No idea, man. Never watched the show.
King Henry says, how much do we waste watching NFL games? Yeah, that's a good question, actually. That's a good
thing we get. It's our job now, so it's a little bit different for us, but.
That is true, actually. Troy says, I do mocks on here all the time, by the way, not just a troll. Just want to try and boost quarterback value in these mocks. So, Badaki, what were the real drafts like that you guys were in? I didn't watch any of them. I'll be honest. I was on holiday. So,
I get it. You don't care about what I do. At
that time, I did not care at all. But what was it like? No. You know, were quarterbacks going way earlier than they did in our mocks, or was it similar?
No, I think it was kind of a little bit sporadic there. And let me pull up one of our teams here. Maybe I can send you that link so you can have a look at it.
What's up, Styles? Welcome in. Okay, it fell off again. So when does it fall off and when does it get funny? That's what I want to know. Josh says Zelda's where it's at, by the way, but Tears of Kingdom and replaying Ocarina of Time now.
Yeah, I'm playing Tears of Kingdom right now. All right, I'm about to send this link to. This is our Manhattan League. If you want to have that look, this is kind of how the board fell.
All right, what's up, Frosty? How often y'all doing Dynasty content from now until the start of the season? Just another startup. Thinking about another team review. Just needs support, y'all. Yeah, I mean, we will be still doing content all the way up until the season, but the live streams won't be as frequent. But right now we're doing 2 live streams a week, so. And today's a great day to submit if you wanted to get us to look at it, but you don't have to either. We'll be live next week, so completely up to you. This was a most recent real startup that Badaki was in, and I mean, to be fair to Troy, there were more quarterbacks that went in the startup in the second round, but the third round was naked of quarterbacks. So I don't think it actually is like this to me, like. Penix in the 5th, Goff in the 5th, Young in the 6th, Dak at the 5-11. This to me says you don't have to force quarterbacks up the board, but doesn't mean it's right or wrong. More quarterbacks went in the first 2 rounds in this real draft, but less went in the 3rd round by far, so it kind of evens out. Anyway, Tyrone Tracy coming off the board there. Michael Pittman was a great pick. Isaiah Likely coming off the board. I'll take Aaron Jones in the 11th round. Sure. I'm not going to be happy about it, but I'll do it.
Yeah, no one really is happy about doing this, is it?
And that's perfect because I wanted to come back and grab it. Fuck.
Oh, no.
Jordan Mason was who I wanted there, so I'm going to make that fix there. There you go.
Damn, son.
Collusion.
He's cheating the system.
Collusion.
System
there. Vikings, yeah, we can save yours for last for sure. Thoughts on Penix this year? Yeah, he is under discussed. I think the assumption is that he's just not going to be good, which is... I don't understand why people come to that conclusion. He had up and down games last year. So did Caleb Williams, but, different level of prospects, obviously, but people haven't wavered their faith in him, I don't think. But Penix, to me, has, like, the ceiling of, like, becoming, like, a Justin Herbert type of player. Kirk Cousins, which was really good for a while there in Dynasty. But he has the floor, obviously, of not being a starter. But I like him this year a lot, and I specifically like him for like the Drake Londons, the Darnell Mooney's. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I'm okay with Michael Penix. I think a lot. If Michael Penix, no, that's fine. I was gonna bring a scenario, but I don't think it's as important.
Oh,
8-2-1.
Okay.
All right. Who we're gonna do first? Jeb. I'm just setting up these team playbooks here.
Yeah, first one is going to be Jeb. Jeb, you on the stream with us?
My name's Jeb.
My name's Jeb.
All right, so it's Jeb. T-Mac hasn't upgraded yet, and then it's Clintnot is after that.
What did you say? What?
Is it Clintnot? Clintnot? I don't even know how to say that.
Pronounce the N a little more there, preferably.
I won't say it. I won't try it. But he is live as well. Honestly, cause.
All right. As in the 12th round, we get Daniel Jones, as well as Anthony Richardson. Deebo Samuel comes off the board. I still believe he's a really good buy for contenders. In a lot of leagues, you could probably get him for a third, early third, late second, pick swaps.
Daniel Jones.
No, Deebo Samuel.
Okay, Debo. Okay, sorry, I didn't know.
But yeah, Scribble says always scared to type his name, Penix. Yeah, I get that. Well, people aren't afraid to make team names around it though. Kittle is a great value at the 712. I'm not gonna lie. Kind of makes me question why I didn't take him over Terry at this point, but it's so much more difficult to draft and entertain than it is to draft in a real league. What was the timer you guys had on your league?
We had 3 minutes for the first couple rounds, first 6-7 rounds, and then it went to a minute.
Okay, right.
Yeah, those drafts took forever. They're like 3 hour, nearly 4 hour streams.
Oh
but
my gosh.
I also didn't want to do like a 1 minute clock either. But
yeah, hard to find a balance there.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's not streamed, you can do like a
you can do longer, and you can do
a
like
slow
a slower
draft or
draft.
something.
Yeah.
Anybody here watch Formula One? Big news in Formula One. Christian
Big
Horner.
news. Yeah. Can you explain that to me? What happened? I saw a tweet that he was texting somebody inappropriate stuff. I don't know how true that was. I could be completely wrong.
There were allegations, not this season, but about like a year and a half ago about that. And I think if the team felt there was validity to it, they probably would have fired him then, because they did an internal investigation. But I don't really know enough about the situation to have an opinion. But I think it just logically made sense. He spent 20 years there. He, to be honest, is one of the better team principal CEOs of all time. To be there 20 years, if you guys don't know, like Red Bull bought a former team, Jaguar. Red Bull as a team used to actually be the Jaguar team. And they kind of used it like as a marketing play initially. But then through Christian Horner and a lot of other people whose names none of us will ever really remember, they built it up to be this F1 powerhouse. The Sebastian Vettel years where they won championship after championship, the Max Verstappen years. Think about it. In 20 years in Formula One, he has 8 driver titles and 6 constructor titles. That is ridiculous. I think if you look at that type of resume and the competitive nature of Formula One, in 8 out of your 12 years to win a title is 8 out of your 20 years to win a title is incredible. I mean, if you compare that to Ferrari, for example, in the same time span, they've won 1 driver championship. I think they've won 2 constructor titles. So his career should be celebrated, what he's done with the team. I don't really care what you may or may not think about him as a person, but his career should be celebrated. But ultimately, I think my opinion on the matter is the Max Verstappen camp has probably been looking towards moving on from Horner for a while. The reports came out that he had his hand just in so many different things that he didn't want to let go of, and they weren't on the same page necessarily. Who knows?
Max and Horner weren't on the same page?
Well, the Max Verstappen camp. When I say camp, I mean like his dad plays a big part in his career, Jos Verstappen, who was a Formula One driver before him. But it's been very well documented that Jos Verstappen, which is Max's dad, was not on the same page with Christian Horner. They butted heads a lot, and ultimately there were a lot of rumors that Max might leave Red Bull for Mercedes. So a lot of people are viewing this as Red Bull saying, hey, Max, we're serious about the future, and we want to keep you. We don't know if that's true. He still could leave. It's hard to say, but you could also say just after 20 years of so much success, the last year and a half, the team's been trending down. A lot of important pieces have left, like Adrian Newey and different people. And the team could also just have more confidence in another name for the second, for this next iteration of their team. So he's out. But
very, very interesting.
One of the most successful people.
I would imagine he gets a new job. I would imagine he gets a new job in one of these new isn't there like 2 new teams going to be on the grid next year, like more cars?
There'll be one new team on the grid, Cadillac.
Was it like Cadillac, right? Yeah.
But in Formula One, you can't just go from one job to the next, from one year to the next. And there's a couple reasons why. You have to think about it. Christian Horner would have every bit of detail and information on Red Bull's plans for their next car, right? So every bit of competitive advantage that he could bring to another team, it would be unfair to Red Bull as a team to allow him to go from one job straight into another job, carrying all that information and resource from one team to the next. So they don't actually allow you to go like that directly into one and the other. But he, could kind of like take a leave. The team is still going to pay him because of his contract with them. And then, in a couple of years, he can definitely take another job. I think he'd be a great pundit of the sport as well. But anyway, so yeah, he is gone. Great. Falto says Red Bull needs to choose Max or Horner. The best option is Max. Definitely in the short term, I agree with that. We'll see long term. But they have a great system there with their new the new guy in charge from their sister team. All right, should we get into some playbooks?
Yeah, let's get into some playbooks here. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the support. Jeb, you are on deck here. Please jump in at any point in time.
Well, he's actually up to bat, technically.
Up to bat. Yeah, you're absolutely right there. And if you want to, you can go ahead and give the spiel. I'll put that link in the chat here. If somebody wanted to get a team playbook there.
Yes. Feel free to grab a team playbook if you like. This is how we will end today's stream, doing some playbooks. So if you want to talk team constructions and reviewing team, or you want to get your team looked at, then you can either become an annual Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND on the Flock site, or you can just purchase one through the Flock store a la carte, regardless of what membership you're on. So yeah, that is available to anybody. You can check out the link from Nightbot, which I will go ahead and pin now. Let's go ahead and get to Jeb's team here.
Yeah, appreciate you, Jeb. I know you were here. He says, okay, I'm here, guys. Awesome. Your team, this is 2 quarterback, 12 team, start 10, which is our classic middle ground tier, which I will also put in the chat. There you go. He says, in the context is this, just out of a startup, 27 trades went down.
Wow.
Decided on a young build. Excited for your thoughts. My trade, the 105 Burrow. So he traded the 105, which was Burrow, for plus a 26 fourth for the 209, which was Bo Nix, the 404 for Henderson, 26 first. Okay, maybe we can write that down because there's a lot of trades there. But we can kind of go through that. So you traded Joe Burrow.
I'm confused where the commas are here because this all looks like one huge trade.
One huge trade, yeah. I'm a little bit confused.
I don't actually know where. Like, surely you didn't trade Joe Burrow and a fourth for this entire thing, right?
And yeah, that's what I'm thinking there. So maybe what we can do is, as I go through it, you can write that, you can copy that, and then he can tell us what the trade, like where the commas would go.
Yeah.
But your team name is Store Lovin' Thunder. You love to see
Thunder.
it.
That's funny, actually. I like it.
You're currently ranked 3rd out of 12. And let's have a look at your team here. Quarterback position, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, and then no one else. Don't mind that quarterback room, so I'm assuming you could have had Joe Burrow and potentially JJ McCarthy once we have a look at those trades. At the running back position, Travion Henderson, RJ Harvey, Alvin Kamara, Trey Benson, Javonte Williams. So enough running backs that you can start coming into this year. At the wide receiver position, you can start up to 5 wide receivers. In the flex, specifically in the flex position, we like to prioritize wide receiver. JSN, Ladd, Ricky, Besh, Pat Bryant are you starting 5, I guess you can say, with Marvin Mims, and then Loveland and Mason Taylor. This is a 0.5 tight end premium. You have 1, 2, 3 first-round picks in 2026, which is also really good there. And let's just jump straight into some admin.
Yep.
Untouchables. There's really no untouchable on this team. I would just say your first in 26 and 27, since you kind of mentioned that you wanted a young build. There's not a heavy hitter. I think maybe next year names like a Bo Nix can be in that conversation as an untouchable, but as of right now, we're gonna put your 26 and 27 first as untouchables. Holds, JJ McCarthy is definitely a hold for us. Trey Benson is also going to be a hold for us as well. I would also put Ricky Pearsall in that category. And let's see, at the tight end position, we could put Mason Taylor as that hold. Drops, plenty of drops here. I think you can drop names like Emmanuel Wilson, Tyquan Thornton, Luke Shoemaker. So you'll probably see Emmanuel Wilson there. Emmanuel Wilson and Tyquan Thornton as a drop for these teams.
Yeah, I like the team. Coming off a startup, a lot of teams look, unbalanced, or there's clear need. Obviously, your team isn't perfect. That's the nature of a startup, but I like the foundation that you have here. It's a start 10, so Nix and McCarthy could be your starters. Let's just say for the future, it's Henderson, Harvey, JSN, Ladd, Loveland. That is 7. We'll make Pearsall 10. We'll make 8. We'll make Kamara 9 and Williams 10. The way I view this team, and I don't know where you stand, Badaki, is I think this is like a sleeper team for this year that's most likely going to sell off aging assets. I don't see this team and think, okay, we need to sell all these running backs right now. I think we can probably choose like a sleeper pathway for a team like this. And if we make it into the playoffs, great. Because I think you have enough pieces here where you could be competitive in the playoffs, depending on what these rookies do. But if you're starting off the year and you're 2-4, then that's fine as well, because we didn't have any expectations to even contend this year anyway. So that's the way I kind of view this team. I'll say sleeper pathway here, and I have a very clear direction of where I would take it if I was you. Overall team grade, I mean, the draft capital, you have 326 first, and obviously you're owning 27. That's got to be like an A flat, A minus maybe.
Yeah.
And that will improve your team grade. I think probably B plus range coming off a startup.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm at as well.
Might not be like a B plus if this is like 2 years in, but just with that context. And he says, so a little bit of background info. Team 6 was extremely annoying in the startup. Ostracized most of the league after trading away his entire 26 and 27 rookie picks. Will not be trading with him. So we need to publicly shame wide receiver ones are overrated. So shame. But to be fair, he built a decent team. Okay. So he says, Jeb says, yes, Zach, that's kind of the same way I was thinking. If I contend, great. I might bid us of a 26 first and go win now. If not, keep the first and shoot for next year. So yeah, I don't personally think you're actively selling in the offseason though. I think this is more of a plan for in season. Is there any other admin we have to talk about?
No, that's all.
So my plan is compete but ready to sell, basically. Right, and the names that, tell me if I'm missing someone, Badaki, but the names that you clearly look to sell if you're not competing: Kamara, Javonte, Dobbins. I don't see another person name, but
I mean, I guess it just depends on what happens in the season. Probably Mike Gesicki.
Right.
Having Loveland and Mason. Yeah. Other than that, I'm probably on the same page right there with you.
So Kamara, it sounds crazy, but I think the ceiling outcome for him, if he's the same player as he's been in previous seasons, he's putting up top 5 weeks, is like to get any first, in any year. And again, we know with the Dynasty trade dial, which you will get with
when
your
I playbook out. Yeah.
That running backs always have the most value in season, which is why we're waiting to sell these guys in season. But most likely outcome is you could net like multiple seconds, or like a second that looks guaranteed to be early, early second. Or what you could do is try and flip him to a team that is clearly contending and has a need, and you could try and flip him for like a younger piece. Let's see where Kamara is right now. So like flipping him for like a Tootin and a third, for example. I won't write all these down. So like Trey Benson, or if you wanted to build
Yeah, I
around your
think so.
wide receiver room a little bit more, can you flip Alvin Kamara? Can you get like a Luther Burden if he starts off, slow, which is certainly a possibility given the situation he's in. If not Luther Burden, most people will be patient on him. What about like a Jaden Higgins if he starts off slow? Trey Harris, these sort of names. That's kind of what you'll want to do there. With Javonte Williams, I would say really like a mid-second. There's a scenario where which is not likely
at all. Yeah.
but there's a scenario where he does dominate, and maybe he just needed multiple years off his ACL, and he's in the perfect offense for himself. That scenario exists, and maybe you can at a first if it looks like there's an extension. That scenario is very unlikely. But this is a guy that maybe you can move like a Jack Besh instead. Some of these guys further down the board. Jack Besh is Keon Coleman, Kyle Williams, those type of names. Right, depending on how the season goes, those are some general targets. I think with J.K. Dobbins, I really do think you can. He already has Besh. I think you really could probably get a second if he comes out strong like he did last year. But I wouldn't be too greedy. I'd say any second in any year to a contender, and then Mike Gesicki is more like any third in any year. But with a team like this, my personal opinion is I wouldn't be very active. Who am I selling in the offseason anyway? I can't name a guy here that I'm selling in the offseason. And running backs are always more valuable in season anyway if you want to sell some of the veterans. So I think you're in a great spot, but I don't see. I think the best course of action until the season is probably no action overall.
Yeah, I completely agree. I wouldn't make a move here unless I don't even think there's anyone I want to sell on your team outside of specifically young guys, right?
Yeah.
You want to keep the Hendersons, the RJ Harveys. It's kind of like you mentioned, you got all these young people because of what you said already.
Yeah. So here are the trades that he's done. Okay, so he says trade 2 starts at the 308. Okay.
Okay, so
hold on. This is trade 1.
And then
All
trade
right.
3 starts at the 805.
Trade 2 starts with Garrett Wilson. Trade 3 starts at the 805. You said, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm doing this right. Let me know.
Yeah,
if I'm doing this
I think that
wrong.
is right. I think that is right. So 308 starts at the 308, and then trade 3 starts at the 805, which is Luther Burden.
Wow, Burden went that late.
So you traded Joe Burrow in a 4th, and you got Bo Nix, Henderson, a 26th first, and a 26th third.
Okay, so Burrow a 4th. I'm assuming rookie pick, right? For Nix, Henderson, and a 1st. I think that's a pretty good haul. I don't expect you could get that value in a league after the startup. It's probably an easier trade to make in startup. After a startup, I think people will see the value and probably say, I don't want to do that, So that's a great trade.
So you traded Garrett Wilson in the 26th second for JSN in the 26th third. So you moved up 2 spots and you did a pick swap, and you got JSN over Garrett Wilson. I think that's nothing crazy.
I'm indifferent on it. I probably would have preferred to just stay and hope that JSN was available because it's unlikely you're a real heavy powerhouse contender, but if you make the playoffs and JSN's another solid year, I don't think you'll regret it. Traded Burden for Kamara and a 1st. Okay, that makes sense. So wow, you moved from the 805 to the 809 and got that 1st.
Yeah,
I love Burden, but I think most people would, including me, would find it hard to not sell him at that price. So I don't have a problem with any of these trades. I really love the 1st trade though. The 1st trade was like crucial to set up the type of pathway you're on now, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's fun. I think all these are fun. So I just want to have a look at your team. So you would have had Joe Burrow with no Bo Nix. So I guess you wouldn't know what you would have gotten at Henderson.
Wouldn't have had the extra first, wouldn't have had Kamara, but would have had Burden, wouldn't have had Jason, but would have had Wilson in the second.
Wilson.
Overall, I think these are all net positive moves.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Yeah, I'm a fan of them. Let us know if there's anything we didn't answer, Jeb, though. I want you to feel good about the trade. Good about the review. I want you to be happy. And of course, Badaki will get this to you as soon as he can.
Yeah, 24 to 48 hours on the Flock Fantasy message system there, Jeb. I'm pretty sure you got in the team review here before, and we appreciate you and your support, brother. So all love as always. But we'll leave the floor up to you with any last-minute questions before we move on to the next one.
What's up, Mohammed? I think a first and a third is a good starting point for Rashee Rice. He's more expensive now than he was a couple months ago, so keep that in mind. But that's a good starting point. And yeah, Jeb says no. I think it's pretty good. Always love the feedback, guys. Thank you. We appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for the love, for the support. Very, very kind of you supporting the channel like you do. All right, Kleinot is the next one. We got a trade question here, though. We should just get to real fast. Meet the Flocker says, should I do this trade? I get Keon, 227 first, and a second. I get Marvin and Herindo. So, wow. Okay, so they move on from Marvin Harrison in a one quarterback 10 team start 10. I like Isaac, but he shouldn't be talked about.
He's getting 2 firsts for Marvin right now?
He's getting 2 firsts and Keon Coleman. I don't think 2 firsts is unreasonable for Marv, though. I think most people would pay that.
I think...
What if those are both late first-round picks?
But what if Marvin doesn't hit? Right at the end of the day, if Marvin doesn't hit, you would still want those 2 late firsts.
But our expectation is that he will.
Yeah, our expectation is that he will. But I personally think this is a pretty fair trade. But that's also with I'm in a little bit more of... I'm at like 51% he's gonna hit than bust.
Okay.
You get like I'm not as confident as everyone. I'm leaning towards the hit, but I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't either.
If that's where you stand, you should be selling Marvin Harrison if you have any shares of him, Badaki. Because
well,
51%.
I don't.
I would say 51% is not very confident. I would be more confident than that. I still think he's an incredible prospect that will play very well in the NFL. But this is kind of like the price for a Drake London, who's already shown us that he's a guy that can help you win a championship. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if Marvin Harrison hits, and let's say he's top 15, this is not far off the price you would probably have to pay anyway.
Yeah.
My only counter would be like, is there a way for you to net another first-round pick, get rid of Keon Coleman, get rid of the second, and then add like a, you send away... Let me see if there's something that makes sense. Like a Tucker Kraft, Can you make it Kraft, Marvin, and Herindo for 3 firsts? So like that's a little more appealing to me. Again, can we...
Sure.
If it's not Kraft, can we add that first? We're getting 3 firsts, and then, we'll send back... do you have like a second-round pick that you could send his way, for example? So... Strange, but just Strange will be a second-round pick in this scenario. But overall, I think it's pretty fair value. These picks specifically being in the 2027 class is very enticing to me as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what's exciting, right? Like, it just depends on who is there, and that it is far from now. That 2027 feels ages away, but really, 27 those first are going to be exciting by middle of this year, I would say, or of the season.
I think this is probably, if I had Marvin on my roster, this is probably a deal you'd have to send me. If you don't have confidence in Marv, I think this is fair value to go out and get the picks. If they were 226 picks, maybe I'd be less interested. I just love that 27 class. I know you can't predict a class, but I also think there's a bit of laziness in the community as well, just to say, well, every class is going to be fine. Yeah, every class is going to pan out, but there's different values to every class. I think we all know that. But yeah, I think if you can turn it into 3 firsts and add a player somehow or a second-round pick, I would prefer it. But overall, I think that's pretty close to what I would value at. Why does that happen for the trade questions often that happens where you click next and it
does.
doesn't compute. But Meet the Flocker, if you're just getting this time code, I want to let you know that we've discussed this trade for the past 5 minutes. So just go back, scroll back about 5 minutes, and we talked about that trade in depth. All right, Kleinot is next here. And
yeah. Find out. Let us know if you are here with us on the channel live. If not, that's totally fine. You'll be getting a timestamp with this review here, and it looks like you have a 1 quarterback 10 team start 9, which I'll put this in the chat. That's actually middle ground for the 1 quarterback fam, so really similar, just only 1 quarterback here. You currently ranked first out of 10. Let's have a read of this context here. He says, just looking at any moves you would suggest to make with this team. Sublime with Rome Odunze.
Did you look at the team yet?
Yeah, I have. And let's get into it then. Let's not waste any time.
Wow.
At the quarterback position, Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, Dak Prescott, Bryce Young. I mean, probably one of the strongest quarterbacks room, no doubt. You currently rank second. I don't know who has a stronger quarterback room than you currently. Anyways, at the running back position, Bijan, Brees, JT, Henry, my goodness. And the list goes on. At the wide receiver position, CD, London, JSN, Marmon, Rice, Roman, Mika, and the list goes on. Even Josh Downs there with Colston, Loveland, and Tyler Warren. Look, this is a really good team. Okay, let's jump into some untouchables, some admin stuff. Jaden Daniels, Bijan Robinson, CeeDee Lamb are going to be your 3 untouchables for this team. And this is not a tight end premium holds. We can put Rome Odunze on that list. We can also put Rashee Rice on that list. And that's probably the 2 guys that we want to keep as holds because there's a lot of drops here. Kamani Vidal, Khalil Herbert, Jermaine Burton, Javon Baker are probably the 4 players I would want to drop. I still want to hold Elijah Mitchell, Tyler Algier, Taj Brooks. Those are the guys I would rather hold. I mean, I'm happy to drop Darren Waller as well, but also happy to take the swing on him. So Kamani Vidal, Khalil Herbert, Jermaine Burton, and Javon Baker are your 4 that you're going to see on your graphic as drops.
So the question is this a Thanos? Because clearly this is the best team in your league. It's by far the best team in your league. Your starting lineup is Daniels, Bijan, Brees, Lamb, London, let's say Loveland for now. That's 7. You can only start 2 more. So let's just say Derek, JSN, which means you have insane amounts of depth that you might not even ever need. I would love to do everything I can to, do 2-for-1s, consolidate this roster, and get the absolute most superpower on this team that I possibly could.
I agree.
But it's not a Thanos, just simply because you don't have the tight end for Thanos yet,
exactly.
I would say. But you're
that's kind of the move that I
want
to do there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the move that I want to do, like Zach was mentioning. The 2-for-1s. Can we use some of these guys that you're probably never going to start? Can we get the Brock Bowers, the Trey McBrides of the world? Because I think if he were to get a Brock Bowers on this team or Trey McBride, I would consider this.
Yeah, that would be closer to Thanos. Yeah,
it would be closer to Thanos because then your next question is your QB2 or maybe RB2.
You could probably make 3 consolidating moves this offseason and win this league for like 7 years in a row. Just want to look at your draft real quick. The only area that you really had need in before the draft, like if you remove these 2 rookie tight ends, would have been tight end, and you addressed it. You also added Emeka Egbuka. I gave you an A for your draft because just overall, I think you did a great job. So what I would love to do with this team, I'd love to find the first thing we need to do is just look at the teams that have Bowers and McBride. I think that's the first thing that we need to do. So the team that has Bowers, they have a need at running back. Can we give them, let's say, Loveland? What do you think, like Loveland, Brees,
It'll probably
Egbuka, or I don't know.
Yeah, it would have to be either Brees or JT, one of those 2.
let's say Breece Hall or JT, they're both interchangeable. And let's say Emeka Egbuka. I know you don't want to get rid of Egbuka. Respectfully, you don't need him. And I love him, but you can also ask back for like a. See, this is where it kind of pays off a little bit for you. Like you get back like a Matthew Golden maybe in this deal.
Yeah.
Like that, just so you're not completely naked there. That you're gonna have to come hard for Brock Powers. And I would view this as that. So I think, yeah, Loveland, Breece, Egbuka. I mean, why would this guy not be entertaining it with Jordan Mason as his RB2? His team goes from that to still having a really good prospect at the tight end position and having a much fuller team. I am not replying to any of the comments. The other thing is, what if we could get Bowers and Jefferson? And it would still be the same idea, but we'd have to like Egbuka would have to be like JSN.
Yeah, one of the top 4 wide receivers, like either Jackson or Marvin. I feel like would be.
And maybe that wouldn't even be enough. Like maybe you'd also have to add like McCarthy or Prescott or something. Yeah, you know, guys, when it was flowing out of my mouth, I heard it. All right, I heard it, and
when it was flowing, and what was flowing?
Yeah,
something was flowing out of your mouth again.
Yep, and I heard it, and no comment.
Oh God.
Anyway, I would love to find a way to get Bowers and Jefferson on this team. You know, if JSN isn't enough, can we? Like, what if we made it like Breece, Henry, Adunze or something, you know? This kind of hurts your running back room a little bit, so I don't like this one as much, but even if you lost Breece and Henry, you would still have Bijan, Taylor. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't do a deal that includes 2 running backs.
I think if anything, we could potentially do 2 wide receivers.
Yeah,
but he doesn't need wide receivers.
Breece, Adunze, and Egbuka.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot to pay, but let's go ahead and say that Loveland, Breece, Adunze, and Egbuka are not on this team. You're adding Bowers and Jefferson though. Okay, so then your starting lineup goes to Daniels, Bijan, Taylor. You still have Henry, CD, Jefferson, Bowers, and then you still can start London, JSN, Marvin, Rice, and you can still flip some of those names. So I have no problem making a move like this. Rain says, don't you think Breece's value could go up? It could go up, it could go down. That's just the nature of the league in general. I mean, there's a world where everyone's overreacting to Breece Hall and, you know, he recovers to his elite form. There's a world where everything that the staff in New York is saying is true, and it is a split backfield. And they have 3 guys rotating. So, of course, anything's possible with these names, but what we do know, at least what my confidence in is 100% confidence in, is that Bowers and Jefferson, their value is going to sustain. I don't worry about Jefferson falling off a cliff or his value being hurt in a year from now, or Bowers, the prospect level of prospect that he is. I don't worry about a Kyle Pitts, Sam Laporta fall off with a prospect like Brock Bowers. So that's an idea. Let's also look at like the McBride owner. And I would argue this guy has no reason to sell McBride, but we can still try to navigate some offer here. So it would be similar, but I think instead of so obviously you get Trey McBride, but you would get like a McCaffrey. That feels like an overpay now. I actually think you could probably do like Loveland Egbuka. That's closer. McBride is cheaper than Bowers. Maybe if you can't get that done, I mean, if you added Henry and you got back like Montgomery, can you do that? You know?
Right.
I think there's a lot more flexibility, but I think there's less of a incentive for this guy to sell. Maybe if that's not possible, can you go out and get like a Luther Bird in here, and instead of sending Derrick Henry, you send I'm trying to be reasonable. A Dunze?
Yeah.
I don't know. But the point is, you can overpay in this type of scenario because you have like 6 players that are going to be sitting on your bench that would be starting in almost every other league. Yeah. Now, outside of that, it's really just like tearing up all over the place. Like, if you can't get those big deals done, what about a little bit more of a micro deal where you package Egbuka and Brees, for example, right? And this is not we don't like Egbuka. It's this team doesn't need Egbuka. Every other team that we'll review today needs a Mika Egbuka, not this team, right? I'm not picking up Brees Hall. You can use Derrick Henry here. It's just the structure of the type of deals we'd be pursuing, right? So what's a team that is either running back needy or wide receiver needy? Let's go sort by running backs. The guy who has James Cook, there's no tier that we can upgrade to. How about we go try and get a Neighbors or a Jefferson? So can we get Malik Neighbors if we make it Egbuka, Hall? Yeah, this one doesn't make sense. We maybe we can't go up to that high of a tier, but
yeah, I don't think we're able to. Unfortunately.
Can we go from Brees? Give me a second. I'm just processing.
I feel like the highest you can go if you're trying to do a one, like something like this, maybe is the first thing that came to mind is like the T's, the lads of the worlds.
Yeah, I wouldn't do a trade for that. I was more thinking like a Monroe St. Brown if you're gonna make a move like this.
Right, those higher ones.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't know if somebody would do that, but like I'm happy. I would love to do that for sure.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people. I guess it depends on how they believe in Emeka Egbuka because of Godwin and Mike Evans and having to wait a year potentially for him to kind of break out, and the question marks with Brees Hall already. So that might be a little bit different. But yes, I'm there with you.
The issue is like your league, the balance of power is very clearly defined.
Yeah.
Which makes it hard.
It's a 10-man league, yeah.
Like you could go like Achan Golden as well in a trade like that, you know? So you're clearly like you're getting the best and the worst player in the deal. Does that make sense? You're sending them 2 players like Emeka Egbuka and Brees Hall, and then getting Achan, which is the clear best player, but also Golden, which is the clear worst player in Dynasty value right now from that group. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying people undervalue him. Wouldn't even mind like trying to pivot to like a Hampton right now. So the idea would be like an Egbuka, Brees for Hampton, Judy, something like that. You know, but that is kind of like the ideas that we would have across the board. The areas you don't need to improve in would be quarterback. You have no need to make any quarterback move. In fact, if there's anybody who needs a quarterback, you could sell them a quarterback. Yeah. Like the guy who has Gibbs and Barkley, can you sell them McCarthy? Yeah, like can we send them McCarthy, Taylor for like a Saquon or Nico? You know, it's just across the board at every single point. We're trying to figure out how many 2-for-1s, 3-for-1s can I do to the point where, you know, I have the youngest, most dominant team possible. But you could also leave this team exactly how it is now and compete for the next 5 years as well. So it's just your specific format. You don't really need, you know, you don't really have like a need, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
but you don't need that amount of depth. You want to give him the spiel?
Yeah, appreciate you, man. You have a really good team. Even if you don't get any of these done, I think Zach and I would probably both say you are most likely going to take this league without making any moves. But obviously, up tiering is pretty ideal. But you should be receiving your playbook here within 24 to 48 hours in the Flog Fantasy message system, customized with everything in that we drew up here for you today. But I appreciate you and your support.
Yes, we do. And we do have people purchasing playbooks on the stream. We appreciate y'all for being here with us. If you guys are looking to get your team playbook, customized game plan for your offseason, customized trade targets for your team specifically, you can get that by becoming a promo code LAND annual Mother Flocker member. You'll get a voucher that you can use through the Flock store. Just make sure you choose Zach and Badaki from Fantasyland. And then if you want it to be shown on the live stream, make sure you push it to the live stream tier. You move that slider up for the live team playbook. Link is in the pinned chat, and we'll have Nightbot give you another one here as well. Okay, so we did see Obi-Wan Goat purchase one, by the way, but they purchased an offline playbook. So I'll just send them a message with how they can upgrade it if they want to. They don't have to. But the next teams that we have are Nalbs and CC Vikings is after that one. Yeah. And then if Obi-Wan wants to upgrade his, he can. Otherwise, we'll do it offline as well. There's no wrong playbook to get online versus offline, by the way. It all comes down to your preference. And, some people prefer the offline version where I pretty much like write up a little article for your team, essentially is what it is. But some people prefer us to do it via video. So it's up to you. All right. Nalbs did upgrade to the live review, so we'll go ahead and honor that. Appreciate you. And let's have a look. $7 for annual members, which Nalbs is, and obviously $10 for non-annual members because we get that discount for our memberships. All right. Nalbs is here.
All right.
And this is rare because he's saying his draft hasn't happened, by the way. This is rare now to be this late into the season without a rookie draft, so this will be fun.
Yeah, it is definitely a little bit different. So this is Matthew, if you know Matthew and Bree. I'm pretty sure you remember. Mm-hmm. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. This is rare. We haven't seen one of these in a long time. It feels like.
Are you sure this is Matthew? I don't know if this is Matthew's.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong.
We know
I'm pretty sure this is like Matthew and Bree.
I don't know for sure. I thought his username was different, but Nalbs is always here.
I could be wrong,
obviously.
But I feel like it is. Anyways.
Well, either way, we've made it awkward. All right.
We appreciate whether it's Matthew and Bree or if it's just Nalbs. Thank you so much for the support here. Start 9-2 quarterback. Superflex, is meat and potatoes, which is in the chat there for you.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think this is Matthew and Bree. Yeah, this is Nate. Okay, Nate Albers here. I was like, I swear this is not the same.
I could have sworn I feel like Matthew and Bree have the same name. They don't have. It's like.
Well,
maybe it's different. Maybe it's Noblers. Anyways,
some people do have very similar usernames. Like there were two G Moneys like for a long time.
Yeah, for a minute, exactly.
We were like, oh yeah, G Money, what's up? And then we didn't realize that we actually had two G Moneys. It took a long time for us to figure that out. But anyway, we appreciate you for being here, Nate. Let's get to this thing.
No, I appreciate you. Sorry for the confusion. Happy PR, please jump in at any point in time. He said, got the rookie draft in 9 days. I have a good amount of picks. Obviously need running back. Tried a couple trades with the top 5, with the 5 spot and 6 spot, since they both need quarterback if Ward is there. I also looked into potentially tearing down from Jaden Daniels. Any tear downs from Hurts, Jane Daniels, and running back tight ends would be appreciated. Okay. And you're currently ranked 2nd out of 12, which is probably most likely because of your draft capital, maybe, but we'll have a look at this team. At the quarterback position, Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts there.
Yeah.
Which is a really good start. At the running back position, Trey Benson, Wright, Marshawn Lloyd, and the list goes on. So no one really to speak of outside of the Bensons and Wright. You can start up to 4 wide receivers: Nico, JSN, Waddle, Addison is your starting 4, with Brenton Strange at that tight end position with Jake Ferguson there. And obviously Zach is going to get through those draft picks and who we will be targeting
Yeah.
But let's go through some untouchables, some admin stuff. So untouchables, of course, would most likely be Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts, but I know you said you wanted some options to tear down, which we'll definitely give you. Holds, Trey Benson, Jalen Wright. I would also put Brenton Strange in there as well. And Marshawn Lloyd. We can put Marshawn Lloyd as a hold there. A bunch of drops. Sincere McCormick, Samaje P. Ryan, Antonio Gibson, Damian Pierce, Keaton Mitchell. You can drop all these guys. Nick Mullins, DTR, Jalen Naylor, Tyler Higbee. You can drop all these guys, but obviously you will have 4 players that you could potentially drop, or actually 2 players that you can drop because of the graphic there. And Zach can take us through the rest.
Yeah, just looking at your draft here. Okay, so I just want to firstly talk with Nate about the idea of tearing down. So typically if I looked at a team like this, I would say, yeah, probably a good idea to tear down because you have some clear needs at running back. That would be even more enhanced if you didn't have draft capital. Now, here's the reason why I'm not sold on tearing down, Nate. There's a couple reasons. Number one, you have draft capital here. You could address your running back room through the rookie draft. You have a lot of picks where you could look at buying veterans as well and turn this into a contender. More importantly, just from like a philosophy of how we operate in different leagues, your league is very specific. It is a super flex start 9. And please let me know before I keep rambling if this is incorrect. But if it truly is a super flex start 9, in that format, I don't really like the idea of tearing down from elite assets because in a start 9, I want as many, heavy hitters into my lineup as possible. I mean, you can only go one spot lower than that as far as like how small a lineup can be. Like start 8 is the smallest and you're in a start 9. So you only have 2 flex spots to worry about. I would much rather have like a Daniels Hurts lineup every single week where they can put 30 on the board every single week than, turn Daniels into like a Goff and, have a running back that I can start. You know what I mean? So he says it is super flex start 9. So we have it right. So I just want to start there. Like because you asked for it, we will give you ideas to tear down, but I also don't think you absolutely need to with this team. I think this draft suits a lot of the needs that you have really, really well. Okay. Now, overall team grade, I think you're actually in a pretty decent spot. I would probably go more B+ territory than anything else. And then as far as the pathway for a team like this, I kind of think that you can turn this into a contender. I don't know. I think you can contend. Like just and maybe I'll change my mind. You can talk to me why you might disagree or whatever, Badaki. But like the combo of like Daniels, Hurts, Collins, JSN, I think that's enough in a start 9 with the draft capital to kind of put you in that contending mode. But I guess it's maybe more of like a sleeper pathway because you might not anticipate being the best team on paper right now. Is that where we stand?
That's kind of where I'm at. Sleeper pathway. I think it also depends on what you want to, or how you're going to utilize your picks. Like Zach kind of mentioned earlier, if you're not in love with anyone at the 209, and you can go out and trade the 209 for the Connors, the Montes, the Alvins type of vibe, and then get these veterans to kind of help you because you have so much of this capital, or you use a 304 to get an Aaron Jones, which once again we can definitely explore. We're going to compete now. We're going to get veteran guys, but also young first and early seconds to get these younger pieces. So I'm more sleeper pathway with potential of a.
Okay.
If you just want to keep young, I'm
talked into it. Any admin that we haven't done?
No, that's everything.
Okay, so let's talk about your game plan in the draft. And this is if you were to just stick and pick. I think in an ideal world, you're probably landing like a Henderson here.
Henderson, yeah.
Then like if Burden falls or Dart falls, I think they'd be great additions to your team. If not, you can look like the Higgins, Harris, the Scataboos there. If Scatterboo or, Toot and fall at the 209, those are ideal. But I also think you're a really ideal team to take a tight end as well at the late second, or even if they fall to like the third. In a lot of leagues, sometimes they'll fall all the way to the third round. I wouldn't even be opposed. I know it's a non-tight end premium. Yeah, you gotta come away with at least one tight end given this class. Ferguson, Taylor, Arroyo. I probably prefer Taylor right now, just given his opportunity to produce straight away in that offense. But again, from then on out, it's just BPA. And just think like logistically, if you were to add a Henderson, let's say you added Henderson. Let's just say Henderson, Scat, realistic outcome. Henderson, Scatterboo, Tootin, Taylor, and in the third round, you went like, Kyle Williams fell, or maybe something more realistic. I can't think off the top of my head.
Henderson, Cam Scatterboo.
Third round. It's been so long. Who goes in the third round?
It can be Kyle Williams. It can be the tight ends. I'm trying to think of running backs.
I don't know. Let's just say you get Arroyo. I can't remember. My brain is fried right now. But adding Henderson, Scatterboo, Tootin, all right, to a running back room that has Trey Benson, you're starting to get a more complete team there, right? Again, might not be straight away ready this year, but you're starting to see the pieces come together. Adding Mason Taylor to your tight end room, at least, if Brenton Strange doesn't pan out, you have a really good prospect there, Mason Taylor. You're starting to really have a more complete team. And obviously, that's reliant on these rookies hitting, but that's just the case with any scenario you're in. Now, if you want to trade back, because in an ideal world, you do trade back and you land like a Judkins at the 107. He was the 107 in the majority of our drafts, Badaki. So in an ideal world, you can trade back and land like a Henderson or a Judkins, right? So let's play out that world for him. And then there's not another trade back scenario here. So we can definitely play that out. And then I would say if you're going to tear down from someone, I would make it Hurts over Daniels. So let's have a look at those teams that have the 104.
I found the 107.
Yep.
Massage my Debo.
Okay.
Team 3. 107 and probably the 201. I would instantly say.
Yeah, 107, 201's nice. Yeah, I'm actually fine with that. That's a great idea.
He says the 105 and the 106 are interested in Ward and would maybe get into a bargaining situation if Ward is still there.
That's good to know.
Okay, so let's find 105, 106.
You could also, by the way, try and stretch this out, this idea out with the 107. I'd be curious if you could somehow nab James Cook in this deal where, okay, so yes, you go down to the 107, you get James Cook, but you send back with the 104. Because right now, James Cook is not a hot name. He's a name that people are like, what do I do right now? You send back 2 seconds, the 204 and the 209, for example. Maybe it doesn't cost that much in your league. It depends on each and every league. Maybe you only have to send the 204 and, the 211 or the 304. Go on, so forth. You'll know your league better than us. But, maybe you can find your way into Joe Mixon. Right? So you get the 201, you also get Joe Mixon, and you send back the 204 and the 304, for example, right?
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you've got Judkins and Mixon starting for you, and whatever you can get the 201, So there's plenty of flexibility there. At the 105, let's look at those teams next.
Yeah, 105 is team 4, Kreismax. And this is the guy he said is potentially fighting for Cam Ward.
This is great. This is very ideal for you to have a team that has such a clear need at quarterback. Jahmyr Gibbs is not going to happen, obviously, but I'm curious if we can move back. The issue is moving back one spot. Really, you don't have much leverage.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking here.
I think we could find our way into an Olave if we sent the 104. If desperation truly was there and you were threatening, hey, I can sell this pick straight away to the other guy. Can you send the 204 and the 104 to get the 105 and Olave? Do you have to add like the 304 to this? I don't know. But if you're telling me there's a real pressure cooker scenario potentially, I'm not going to rule out what's possible. But what about Laporta? It's a non-tight end premium. I'd be super curious if we could somehow land a Sam Laporta here by sending the 204 and the 209 and even the 211, I would consider. Maybe it doesn't cost that much. Maybe instead you can send, that 3rd round pick instead. Again, just trying to give you as many ideas, as many outlets. And then the 106 is owned by, not many people have picks in this league. The Bucky Irving owner. You're moving back 2 spots. You have a little more leverage, but not a ton. Like, you're not going to move back for Aaron Jones. You're not going to move back for Kelsey.
Yeah,
but it's
I think
unreasonable to
106
ask
is a
them
little
to
bit.
pay like Bucky, Worthy, Rice. So there's not a real middle ground there. I guess the only idea is like asking for a future first, and then you can send them like 211 and 304 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not ideal moving back.
Well, it is ideal. It's just there's not ideal.
Sorry for the
partners
106.
for the
Not ideal
106.
moving back for the 106. That's what I mean. Yeah, that's tough. In reality, you probably want to squeeze as much and say, throw a little white lie. 106 got me a good offer. What are you gonna, pump out as much as you can from him?
Yeah. I'm going to now. Let's have a look at Jalen Hurts. If you're gonna tier down, which I don't think you need to, I think Jalen Hurts is the name that I would do it with. And again, start 9 makes me hesitant to do so, but you can't tier down as far as you could in other leagues. But okay, like Bo Nix would be awesome.
Yeah, that's
Like
the
a
first
Bo
thing that
Nix
came to mind.
Henry or Walker.
Bo Nix just for Walker. Yeah, I like that.
Bo Nix and Walker, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
That would be great. Andrews isn't going to do it, so it'd have to be those 2. Are you getting enough when you do that, though? I don't know.
What about Drake May there? No.
Maybe you could add Mark Andrews or Evan Ingram onto this deal. Probably you should be looking for more. So can you add Evan Ingram onto that deal? And then, you send like a couple fourths or whatever, Okay, so yeah. Caleb, that guy has nothing to negotiate with though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't think you can tear down to May and get much in return, but you're kind of limited on a tear down. I'm not gonna lie to you, because
a lot
again,
of these teams are stacked with quarterbacks. The top tier teams.
I'm thinking differently
reading this
about this
correctly.
league than I would a different league, because I don't want to tear down to like. I guess I could Purdy, but there's nothing that makes sense on this roster. You're not going to get like Purdy Saquon, are you? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Don't want to tear down to Stroud in such a small format. You're not going to get enough in return. I don't want to tear down to Golf in such a small format, or like a Trevor. It's a very limited amount of names. I think Nix is really the main name that I like doing it with. I love JJ, but again, in a small league, I want that security. Yeah, you don't have many options, honestly. Look, I think the Knicks one is the one I like the most. But would love to hear any questions that you have or anything that we didn't cover well enough or in depth enough. I want to make sure that you feel good about the review and you feel like you've had all your questions answered. So let us know if there's anything we didn't answer well enough, my friend.
Yeah, appreciate you. And as you're putting in last minute questions, Nate, yeah, as always, you should be receiving your playbook here within 24 to 48 hours on the Flock Fantasy Message System, customized with everything that we drew up here for you today. But appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for the support as we wait for your any last minute questions there.
Yeah. But I think you're in a good spot, honestly. I don't think you're in a spot where you have to make the moves that you thought you had to. He says, any thoughts on tight end upgrade for trades? Yeah, the Laporta deal is ideal that we drew up. But I don't think, like, just trying to think. You could send like the 211 away if you wanted to go after like an Evan Ingram or a, you know what I mean? Evan Ingram, you know, you could do that for probably like a Mark Andrews type of deal.
Yeah.
But I think I'd rather address it in the draft with those later picks with like the Taylor Arroyos, Fergusons.
I also think like if you can get into that 201, you'd be surprised how many tight ends can fall there as well.
Yeah. That 201, that you're right. Like if you're able to nab that deal with the 107, the 201, then you're probably going to get Warren or Loveland anyway.
You most likely, hopefully, get into one of those tight ends because a lot of those tight ends fall depending on that back end of that draft there. But appreciate you, man.
Yeah. But there's just no like natural tear down, I would say.
Yeah.
But he says, would you force Henderson over Tet or Hunter, or just go with the value of the wide receiver? I don't personally have T-Mac and Hunter in a separate tier to Henderson. I've kind of operated that way all offseason. I view them very similarly. You look at, you know, top 40 draft capital for running backs. Those running backs typically have incredible years of service in Dynasty. Obviously, we know how good top 10 picks are in Dynasty football as well. So I don't personally feel like they're in separate tiers. And when they're not in separate tiers, I think you can look more towards the need. But if you have a stronger conviction on a T-Mac, you know, there's no harm in like drafting a T-Mac if that's where you feel, or a Travis Hunter if that's where you feel. You can also, if you do that, look at flipping like a Waddle or an Addison into a running back as well, you know, if that's the direction that you wanted to take. But I don't think that Henderson at the 104 is forcing it, you know. Like, I don't think he fell beyond the 105 in any of our drafts that we were in. Did he? I don't remember him falling that far in any draft that we were in.
No, it was always like 106. You probably get Quinchon or Cam Ward, but other than that, it wasn't anything that deep.
But yeah, let us know, again, any final questions. I want to make sure you feel good, my friend. But Vikings is on deck. And he might be our last one for the day. Oh, we do have a trade question that was just submitted by Travesty. Let's see if we can refresh. Is that manual refresh working? Let's see. No worries, Nate. I appreciate you. And sorry that we misidentified you earlier. Travesty. It says, I think the 27 first is late. They're getting Brian Thomas for Marvin in a first. See, this is the type of deal I wouldn't do. I love Brian Thomas. I have the utmost confidence in him. But I'm not going to pay Marvin in a first to move to him. I see, this is something that you might consider, though, I would assume, because you said you have 51% confidence that he's going to hit. I'm much more in like the 75% range with Marvin. So I view this as like you would be selling too early on Marvin Harrison. But of course, if he doesn't hit, then you would have wished you took in this trade,
well,
right?
He's receiving Marvin. I guess I want to keep Brian Thomas.
Okay. I'm happy to take the Marvin side of this deal.
Yeah. I'm the opposite, where I'm happy to keep BTJ there.
But if you can somehow like nab more on top, then that would be interesting. It's a super flex league. You know, you probably can't send Shuck and get McCarthy, but I'm trying to look at something realistic. Like, can you get Caleb Johnson in this? Could you send Cam Scatterbo and get Caleb Johnson? You know, just looking at other options. You know, can we grab an Igbuka and send over a Pearsall, for example? Another option. If that's not possible, which fair enough. Is there a way to grab like a Rashee Rice in this deal and then send back? Oh, who could we send back? Matthew Golden. I love Golden, but I would do that. Or Shakir. You know. But overall, I prefer the Marvin side in a vacuum. But Aki prefers the other side, and that is okay. It's always good for different perspectives, right? Vikings, I think you are potentially our last team playbook of the day. Of course, we can still, if anybody wants a playbook today, we can still fit you in, but no pressure. Let's get to Vikings.
Appreciate you, Vikings. Thank you so much for your support. This is a 2 quarterback total team start 9.
So same thing we just had then.
Yeah, meat and potatoes. Same lineup essentially from the last league there. Please jump any point in time with any context or anything that is incorrect or not. It looks like you currently rank 2nd out of 12, Mr. Bauer's neighborhood. And the context here is traded the 6'11, the 702, the 8'11, a 26 second for the 503 and the 703.
I would be really curious to know what names that ended up being.
Those players were like those names.
Yeah,
I'm assuming this was a Dynasty.
It's not a terrible trade, but I just think it depends on what those names end up being.
Yeah, I'm assuming you just did a Dynasty startup potentially because this is you just put in those trades in the way that the grid is looking here. But let's have a look at this team here: Patrick Mahomes, Jordan Love, Sam Darnold with Daniel Jones. Good quarterback room.
Yeah.
At the running back position, Travion Henderson, Tony Pollard, Marshawn Lloyd, Kendre Miller, and the list goes on. So not the strongest running back room. Mm-hmm. You're kind of relying on Travion as your RB1 and then Pollard's the RB2, which is not exciting. You can start it to 4 wide receivers: Malik, Rice, Mbuka, Shakira. You have Godwin. So in reality, Malik, Rice, Shakira, and Godwin are your starting 4 with Mbuka in the wings there. And you got Brock Bowers there as well. So looking at this, looks like you probably took Neighbors and then Bowers back to back there.
Yeah, he said he had 11th, 3rd round reversal, tight end premium. My trade ended up being Walker, Moore, and Bryce Young for Travion and Ibuka. So we actually have the trade. So that ended up actually being Ken Walker, DJ Moore. Is that right?
Yeah, Ken Walker, Moore, and Bryce Young for Henderson and Mbuka.
Wait, wasn't there 3?
It was 3 for 2.
Yeah, it was 3 for 2. So what was the rest of that trade then?
The second. So it was a 6'11, the 702, the 8'11, and a 26 second for the 503 and the 703.
No, I know, but there was 3 picks traded in the startup.
Yeah, 6'11, 702, 8'11, which is.
But there's only 3 players here. Or sorry, there's only 2 players here.
No, it's being Walker, Moore, and Bryce Young.
Walker, Moore, and Bryce Young. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So Walker, Moore, Bryce Young for Travion Henderson and Emeka Mbuka.
Okay.
I think a lot of this is going to. I mean, off the rip, I feel like I still want the 3 and the 2nd over Henderson and Mbuka. Just because this is super flex, you got Bryce Young.
Well, the team looked better without Henderson and Mbuka, and instead you had Bryce Young, DJ Moore, and Ken Walker. Might have looked more complete. I don't know.
It would have gave you more depth at DJ Moore over Mbuka starting in this year specifically feels better. Now in the longevity in a dynasty perspective, that's a different conversation. I want Travion Henderson over Kenneth Walker, but Bryce Young is the caveat there. Not only did he get Bryce Young, you said a 26 seconds.
Yeah.
Anyways.
He says agreed. I wasn't expecting Walker to fall. Honestly, running backs are going insanely early. Yeah.
Right.
In hindsight, probably would have had a more, cohesive team, but it's okay. So your starting 9 is Mahomes, Love, Henderson, Pollard, Neighbors, Rice, Bowers, Egbuka, Shakir. It's not bad, honestly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. Godwin's on the bench. You have no running. I guess Dobbins could fill that. Maybe Kareem Hunt is sneaky. Have we done all admin? Sorry, I don't actually remember.
No. No, not yet. You can finish your thought though. And I can
No,
jump
go to the
into
admin because my thought's going to jump to the chalkboard.
Okay. Untouchables. Obviously, Malik Neighbors and Brock Bowers. The 0.5 tight end premium there. So I would definitely do like those two guys holds. Rashee Rice, Meek and Buka, Ken, Dre Miller, and Trayvon Henderson are going to be your four holds there. With the drops being Dameon Pierce and Amari Cooper, at least for me personally. I don't know if Amari Cooper's going to jump onto a team and then have an instant production there. So I think he's kind of done for, unfortunately. When it comes down to draft capital, you don't have your second and 26. So no, I'll just give that a B minus. Overall team grade, I'm kind of more of like a B minus type of range.
I'd say B flat, start 9. If it was a start 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
But the perk of you not having a lot of depth is that your lineups aren't big.
Yeah. Main pathway forward.
I would say contender.
I think. Okay.
I really think you can contend and get into the playoffs with a combo of Love, Mahomes, Darnold's there as your quarterback 3, Henderson, Pollard, Neighbors, Rice, Bowers. Even if you can't rely on Ibuka, Shakir, and Godwin are there.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm saying that is because I want to tear down from Mahomes, which I think everyone probably saw coming.
Yep.
And I think doing that is going to put us into that contender realm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Viking says, I drafted Jonnu 24 hours before he became a Steeler. That's heartbreak. You know, one year I drafted Andrew Luck 30 minutes before he retired in fantasy football. So, could always be worse. Could always be worse. Literally in a draft with my friends. This is before I think I even knew you, Badaki, but I drafted him, was excited about it, got him as a steal, I thought. And then he retired 30 minutes later. I was like, what the fuck just happened? Family friendly, sorry. All right. So we've done all admin. I think you did a good job coming out of the startup. Obviously, like hindsight on that trade, hard to say whether it was a right or wrong move. And this was your trade. I just want to be clear. But here are some ideas. Okay, so from Mahomes, here are some ideas that we could tear down to. And obviously, like, where did Mahomes go in your startup, Vikings? I'm curious. Like, what is the general feeling on Mahomes?
I think he went in the third for him. So he took Malik, Brock Bowers, had a third round reversal, took Mahomes, and potentially came back and took Jordan Love and then Rashee Rice or Travion Henderson.
Well, Henderson wouldn't have fallen. Well, he did the trade.
Well, he traded for Henderson, so
took him at the 302.
Yeah, he took him at 302. So
how far did McCarthy fall? Because JJ would be my first option. I would want. We'll explore JJ. We'll explore Brock Purdy. We'll explore Baker Mayfield. We'll explore Jared Goff, but you get a bigger addition on top of Goff, yeah. I think. Is there another name that I'd like to think about?
Probably Penix, maybe. I don't know if that's too low.
Penix, not opposed to. Trevor Lawrence is the one I was really thinking of there. Would love to explore a Trevor Lawrence one as well. Let's look at these 5 options here. And let's start with the McCarthy owner.
All right, JJ McCarthy.
So like a McCarthy, Cook, Downs. And then I think we could probably send. I'd be probably fine sending like a Pollard back or a Knoll or an Arroyo, a Jonnu, something like that.
Yeah, I'm okay with something like that.
You know, like sending a Tony Pollard. So Mahomes and Pollard for McCarthy, Downs, and Cook. Yeah. If you don't have to send the name like Pollard, like I love Elijah Arroyo, but can you send Elijah Arroyo instead? If that doesn't work, you know, I'd be curious about like what about like a Daniel Jones? Maybe he already has 3 quarterbacks, so that's not going to be effective. Jonnu Smith as well. Probably terrible time to sell Jonnu Smith, but just throwing out different ideas. Let's look at the Purdy owner.
Purdy
Purdy and Goff are owned by the same team. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of wiggle room here because he has Bijan and Saquon, which makes you're not gonna have much wiggle room. What about like a Garrett Wilson? I think you couldn't do Purdy, but Goff, I think you could.
Golf Garrett Wilson.
Goff and Garrett Wilson, I think you could probably send like a Godwin in this deal. And then
Purdy won't even let him go. He traded out for Purdy, right?
Okay.
So Purdy might be out of the question.
So we try and get Goff, Wilson, and we'll add on to that like a lower level running back like Derek would have been perfect if it made sense, but it doesn't here.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
You could ask for Derek and then send a second in a future season though. You know, something like that. But he says Purdy's not really available, so we won't really explore like a Purdy deal. And by the way, you don't have to do any of these deals. It's just like something I would like to do if it was possible. Let's look at Baker Mayfield here. Baker
Mayfield.
There's room here. I think like a
Baker JJ maybe. Baker JJ Ayuk. Baker JJ Addison.
Yeah. Baker, Josh Jacobs. I don't love Josh Jacobs being the reason I'm tearing down, though. I'm not going to lie. I don't really like this one that much. Yeah, Ayuk's not bad. I don't hate that one. I'm not in love with it, but I don't hate it.
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, who has Trevor?
Okay, this is the Kenneth Walker guy. This is the guy he did a trade with.
Okay.
He has 3/4. Well, yeah, he has Bryce Young.
Well, like a Lawrence Walker. It's so hard coming out of a startup because there's such like a gap in trying to make these deals happen.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think like a Trevor. See, you can't really go out and get Walker back, so I don't think Trevor's going to work. The other idea is like Bo Nix. Where did Bo Nix go in your draft, in your startup? Were they right beside each other? Or was there some space? How does your league view Bo Nix? Because even like a Nix Hubbard, I would do in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? Like a Nix Hubbard would be a no-brainer for me. A Nix Adams, I would probably do.
Bo Nix went higher, went to 211.
Okay. Yeah, so that's not going to work. But could you get a Chuba Hubbard and Bo Nix if you sent like Mahomes in a second? I don't know. I would try it. Unfortunately, there's not as much trade power with the Mahomes nowadays, and rightfully so. But
you said May went in the 4th, though.
May went in the 4th. That's weird. Okay,
yeah,
let's
so
try that then.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some quarterbacks that were like surprise fallers? May in the 4th is shocking.
Well, he has Bo Nix and Drake.
And people want to tell me Drake May is a sell high. I don't know. I don't know how to get there.
Well, Drake May Chuba then.
Drake May Chuba. Drake May RJ. We send a second. Yeah, Drake May Chuba is perfect. Drake May Adams, I would do.
Yeah.
Can you hear me still?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I think my Bluetooth. I thought my Bluetooth went out.
No, you're good. I like both of those.
What'd you do? Yeah, just trying to think out loud. Like Harvey, I would probably even do Harvey's a good one to buy now as well because people are lower on him. Like send Mahomes in like a second or something.
Yeah, and you have JK, so like you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I love all those ideas. Well, that May option opened up a lot of other ideas there, which is good. I really like where the team is, man. Love to hear anything any questions you have, Vikings, that we didn't answer. I want to make sure you feel good about the review and that you feel, good moving forward. Caleb. Okay, let's look at Caleb. Caleb went late. It's so interesting to see how some of these home leagues work, but okay, Caleb, because this is clearly a home league, like with your friends, right? This is not like people who are like Dynasty degenerates.
Yeah, he said like one of the guys is his father-in-law, so.
Okay. So a Caleb Monty is not not getting me there, but like a Caleb. Do you think Caleb Worthy is crazy? I don't think you go Caleb Worthy.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. Caleb. Let's see. I'm trying to think who he has.
Would you do Caleb and Brees and then kind of same thing as Harvey and send a second back?
Yeah. Send the second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If not Brees, what about like
I would do Mahomes. I would try like Mahomes, Tony Pollard. You know?
Yeah.
Caleb and then Caleb Brees and then try the 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of tier it from there.
Yeah. You could also try and go like Charbonnet, Flowers. I don't love Flowers though. Have to be Worthy, but I don't think he would do that. So like a Caleb, Zach Charbs, and Xavier Worthy, but I don't think that seems really unreasonable to me. So, but yeah, you got a lot of options there, man. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
See if you can tear down from Mahomes. And then you don't have to keep Worthy. You can sell him later. It's just all about like never view a trade as like the final destination for your team. You know what I mean? Never let a trade that's good value stop you from making the trade because you'll have multiple of the same players on the same team. You know, you can always, that's the beauty of Dynasty. Year round, you can trade. And remember, you're still months away from the season anyway.
Yeah, I think the other route that I would just throw out there for Viking is, let's just say these Mahomes deals doesn't work and you're trying to get another running back because you don't believe in Tony Pollard, then you can use your future second or your 26th third and go from the higher tiers. So, you know, you can use your third and get the Aaron Joneses of the world. You can try the Travis Etiennes, the Jordan Masons of the world. Or you can use your second in 2023 or 2027, excuse me, and then go out and get the Joe Mixons, the Alvin Kamara's, the Derrick Henrys of the world. Get James Connors, because that can help you, you know, if you wanted to go that route. You said what's cheap? Well, that is cheap. Those are the cheap players.
But
we could,
you know,
I'll put it there as an option, but like just so you know.
Yeah. He'll put it there on the chalkboard. I think if you make one of these deals, you are a contender. Like literally any of the deals that we just talked about, if you just make one of these deals, you're a contender. And if you don't make one of these deals, you're more of a sleeper, right? You're like, all right, we're going to play this year slow, see what happens. And, you know, if you end up not hitting, okay, can I sell Tony Pollard in season? Can I sell Chris Godwin in season? Sam Darnold in season, maybe Daniel Jones. But I think you kind of play it like the first 7 weeks, see how it pans out. But one of these moves, if you make it, I think you're definitely contending. The only issue I could really see is like RB2 being a problem, but you just keep that flexibility.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, appreciate you big time.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, and thanks for the support. Thanks for becoming a member. Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt, but I just wanted to quickly let him know because I know he just became a member today. One of the things that people often miss out on is number one, joining the Discord. Okay, so if you have yet to go link your Discord through the Flock site, do so. You can go to the Flock site, go to like your name at the top right of the Flock site, and then you can see like Discord. You can link your Discord there. The other thing is check out everything that's available to you on the Flock site, right? You can see all of our rankings here. You can sort by different creators, different types of rankings. The prospects model is great from FSC. The My Teams page, as you probably already know about, mock drafts you can do there. The Trade Finder, where you can see real trades in Dynasty and redraft leagues that have happened recently. The calculator is great. Obviously, the comparison tool is brand new. Really cool tool that lets you compare two players, their season, different seasons, all the way back to 2019, different parts of their seasons. And then, of course, you've got like all the draft guides and stuff in the post sections. And then anytime you want to purchase a playbook, or, you know, you want to purchase a trade question or whatever the case may be, you're going to get a discount because of your membership with us, a 30% discount. But yeah, I think that is it for today.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. You should be receiving your playbook, by the way, on the Flock Fantasy message system. So when you go to my team, my review, and then there's like a little tab where you can see the chat. That's where you're going to be receiving it. Okay, your customized playbook for your team there. So stay tuned for that.
Yes, that is probably it for today. I do want to let you guys know we will be live tomorrow night. It just won't be on this specific channel. It will be on our redraft channel. And if you don't know about our redraft channel, this is a great opportunity for me to tell you about it. Fantasyland football. This is Dynastyland football that we're on right now. So yeah, definitely come join us over there. Nightbot's going to put a little link in the chat for you, but we're releasing content over there constantly and live streaming twice a week. And you know, the content over there is still relevant to the Dynasty community. So it's still going to be very helpful to you guys. But appreciate you guys big time for being here with us. We'll answer Dakota's question and then in the stream. He says, would y'all give up DJ Moore for Josh Downs in a 26 second? I got Chase, Myers, Tet. Yeah, DJ Moore's a tough sell right now. I doubt you'd get more than Downs in a second, but
I don't know
if I'm a contender, I'd probably lean DJ. I'd be interested if you could do some sort of like, you know, you send DJ Moore and a second away for Downs and a Chuba Hubbard, for example, or, you know, a starting running back of caliber, some sort of deal like that. But I do love buying Josh Downs right now. But that's it, guys.
Yeah.
Signing off. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow on the redraft channel.